Haiti borders with the Dominican.
Her name is Serena Buffalino. They call her Mrs. B, and her class always begins with a pledge.
Something local, something global. Haiti.
They're words that carry
Yes.
weight here. Helping yourself means helping others, giving back, here and a world away in Haiti.
And nobody's helping them, except for people like us.
It was through her the class learned of Haiti, of the nearly 1 million orphans, many with no school, no support, no Mrs. B in their lives.
They could not wrap their head around that.
Mrs. B's students are among Toronto's most at risk. Their challenges vary from emotional and behavioral difficulties to learning disabilities. Their trauma so severe they can't function in a regular school setting, and we aren't allowed to show most of their classmates.
For most of the kids, most of society has turned them away. And in this classroom, they're accepted. They're accepted no matter what for who they are.
Take Yolanda. She came here last year so burdened and withdrawn, she would often fall silent, sometimes for days on end. It was, she says, Mrs. B's patience, her quiet encouragement, that saved her.
She actually saves people's lives from dangers.
And perhaps that's why these marginalized kids feel such a kinship with the orphans of Haiti, and why they were moved to act.
And so when Yolanda and Jackie and Patrick said, well, Miss B, we need to build them a school.
Build a school, no easy task. They started out raising money. They sold samosas, washed cars, screened movies, you name it. And in just a few months, this little class raised $20,000. So much, it's not just a one-room schoolhouse they can build, but a full 3-story school. And so Mrs. B set off on a journey she'd dreamed of, up into the dusty mountains above Port-au-Prince to a town called Canaan. It's home to thousands of earthquake refugees who live with no running water, no electricity, and no school, until now. The first step was a temporary school. It's up and running. 53 students already in uniform. The permanent school for 250 is growing from its foundations.
It makes me want to cry because she just makes me feel so awed, and I'm very proud of her.
All of this because of a handful of students back in Canada and Mrs. B, the teacher who believed in them.
These are for you.
At another fundraiser, a special tribute to the students, accepted by someone who, without Mrs. B, might not be here.
They believe in me and I believe in them, and together we not only change our lives, but we change the world around us.
For inspiring great things and seeing the potential in everyone, Serena Buffalino is this week's Everyday Hero.
This is the reason why I do what I do, is because of Yolanda and all the
Good morning. ¿Cómo se va? Ni hao. Hola. Ohio. Bienvenue. Wan Ying. Bienvenidos. Yo koso. And welcome. And thank you for those of you who have been watching this show. This is literally the 1-year anniversary of the Gem Hunter Stories. For those of you, this is your first time here. Welcome. Welcome to my new viewer from Canada. It's kind of hard to keep track of what side of the pond I am. So welcome to Elaine. My name is Barry B. Mixon, and I am a gemological storyteller. And each and every week, I get the honor and privilege of coming into your home and take you on a journey to places you've never been before, to hear stories you've never heard before. Each and every week, I get the magnificent opportunity to take you on a mental, physical, spiritual adventure into the art, science, history, and magic of gemstones, precious metals, and fine jewelry. And because I believe in the transformational power of stories, because I know what stories have done for me in my life, I know, I have absolute confidence that somewhere along the line, somewhere in this journey, you're going to hear a story that's going to move you. You're going to hear a story that's going to make you look at the world, look at yourself in a different way. My mission each and every week is to create a sound that will resonate inside of you. A sound that will get you to feel and hear the music that lives inside of your heart and inside of your mind. And it is my hope that you use that sound as a bridge, as a template, as an inception point to help you discover the value of your own stories. Of not only your own stories, but how your stories resonate with the world. How your story resonates with you. As I said to you, this is the 1-year anniversary of this show. And the title of this show this week is Metaphysics, the Romantic Metaphysics of Opal and Tourmaline. And I want to say, I do realize to my people born in November, this is November 3rd, and I do realize that, and I'm going to do a whole show. I can't wait to do a show on citrine. That will come next week. But this week, I want to finish up. I want people to understand how we're moving more into the magic, the metaphysics of gemstones and precious metals. This symbol behind me, as I told you, this is the symbol of the gem hunter. And I use rubies, emeralds at the 6 o'clock position, sapphire and citrine, and diamonds and gold, because those gemstones has had a significant part of human history. Gemstones were used for their healing purposes, healing properties, long before they were made into jewelry. In fact, jewelry came as a result of people needing to feel gemstones close to their skin, to be able to wear it around their neck and their ears and their fingers and their toes in order to keep the power of that gemstone near them and in their lives. The interesting thing, as I talk about metaphysics, the interesting thing that I need you to know is that I didn't always believe in metaphysics. No, metaphysics was for other people. Maybe because I grew up in the 60s, and when people would talk to me about metaphysics, what would be interesting to me would be how they saw it. How most of the people that spoke to me about metaphysics were like the hippie types. The hippie types, or of course I grew up in a community where heroin and drugs and LSD was coming into vogue. So when people spoke to me about metaphysics, I didn't believe it. In fact, I had an old girlfriend about 25 years ago. She was truly into metaphysics. Wonderful woman. She doesn't want me to use her name, so I will respect that. Wonderful woman, one of the best massage therapists, literally in the city of Chicago. And she would talk to me about metaphysics all the time. We would have huge arguments about it because to me, metaphysics was hocus pocus. And which is so strange because my whole life was metaphysics. For those of you who know me, those of you who watch this show know that I'm a huge Star Wars fan. The whole concept of the Force is metaphysics. To understand that, and I tell people all the time, that movie, when Obi-Wan said the Force is an energy field created by all living things, it surrounds us, it binds us, it brings the galaxy together. That was it for me. I knew that I wanted to be a Jedi Knight. Years later, when, as I said to you guys earlier, I was homeless 29 years ago, and I told you many, many times that it was this book, As a Man Thinketh, that saved my life. I totally understand how that man in this book, that character, went from a youth hard pressed by poverty and labor, confined long hours in an unhealthy workshop, unschooled and lacking all the arts of refinement, but he dreams of better things. I understood how he went from that low point in his life to years later, we see this youth as a full-grown man. We find him a master of certain forces of the mind, which he wields with worldwide influence and almost unequal power. In his hands, he holds the cords of gigantic responsibilities. He speaks, and lo, lives are changed. Men and women hang upon his words and remold their characters, and sun-like, he becomes the fixed and luminous center around which innumerable destinies revolve. He has realized the vision of his youth. He has become one with his ideal. And I've told so many people that it was that quote that I would read every single day, every hour, every day, and I still felt that I didn't believe in metaphysics. When my girlfriend took me to a convention, basically, a conference, and they had Barbara Brennan. So those of you who know Barbara Brennan's into light energy things. And Barbara Brennan, it was $50 a person. You know, I wasn't paying $50 to go see somebody talking about light. But so she took me, I'll pay for you to go. I said, okay, fine, I'll go. And the most amazing thing happened. Barbara Brennan comes on the stage. There's literally 300, 400 people in this room. People all excited. And I'm sitting there like, okay. And Barbara Brennan comes on stage and she says, what color do you see? And everybody started quoting different colors: blue, green, yellow, orange. I think she said fuchsia, my girlfriend. And then Barbara Brennan paused and said, you know what color I see? And everybody was like hanging on the edge of their seat. And she says, I see purple. And the most amazing thing happened. Each and every one of those people, even the ones that stood up and said, I see orange, so definitely, with no hesitation, I see orange. Each one of those people started seeing purple. And when it got to my friend, I said, well, what color do you see? She said, I see purple too. She said, what color do you see? I said, I see green. Because all I was thinking that there was $50 per ticket and 300 people here. Do the math. I didn't understand. I didn't understand metaphysics. So as I tell you each and every week that this show is a journey, this show is an adventure, not only just for you, but for myself. Because I've been studying gemology for on and off 18 years. I know the gemstones. I've taken a test, gem identification, but I didn't understand what that meant on a deeper level until I started really doing this show. So in the 1 year that has passed, I've truly began to understand and see how metaphysics works. And that's what we're going to talk about today. As I said last month, that the gemstone that we were dealing with was opal. This is opal. This is black precious opal. And as I told you, that what makes opal special, opal is a silicon dioxide. So what happens with opal is that you have microscopic, submicroscopic beads, spheres, and on top of a thin layer of also submicroscopic layer of water. So when white light comes in and hits that opal refracts the light, and it splits it up into its individual wavelengths: red, orange, yellow, blue, green, indigo, violet. Remember Roy G. Biv? And I understood that. But I didn't understand how it worked. Why wasn't it hocus pocus? When you think about all of the different gemstones, each gemstone has their own characteristics. Each gemstone has its own power that go back from hundreds, sometimes thousands of years. So let's look at a gemstone like opal. Let's look at black opal. Black opal, and again, it's not like I just wanted to let you guys know, it's about research. This is called the Book of Stones, who they are and what they teach. And when you read about different opals, and I want to read it direct, opal, black opal is the stone of magic and mystery. It stimulates and links the root and crown chakras, assisting one in connecting with one's highest spiritual aspirations, with one's physical life. Black precious opal is a powerful magnifier of one's intentions, especially if those intentions are connected to emotional needs, meaning that you want that job. You are standing there trying to do a presentation, and you want this presentation has to work. This is one of the most important presentations in your life. And that's when I began to understand the link between science and metaphysics. And I realized that this is something that I've been doing my entire life. When I would read As a Man Thinketh each and every day, every hour of the day, I told you in many previous shows that what it is, it's a story. In order for you to get to where you need to get to in your life, the most important thing that you can do in your life is tell yourself a story. You have to be able to see that story. You have to be able to say that story, manifest it in your mind. And once that story becomes real to you, then that story has value. Nothing, and I've said this many, many shows, and I will say it again, nothing has value without a story. So in this book, there are thousands, all the gemstones that exist. This book talks about how each one of those gemstones has some type of metaphysical property, which in the past I would just read and go, yeah, okay, whatever. But now, let me get you to understand why these stories has existed for thousands of years. Ready? Take out a piece of paper and a pencil, because you need to hear this. Let's say you are on a you are preparing to do a presentation, a major presentation to a bank or to a investment banker, venture capitalist, and you need thousands of dollars. Let's just think of it. You need $40,000 to get your business started. And it's almost like, what's the name of that show? Shark Tank, where you have to do your presentation in front of all these people. And you decided to wear this brooch. This is a a Cartier. This is a Cartier diamond and platinum and emerald and Australian opal brooch. Now let's break that down. Let's break that down, each one. We all know. Let's just talk about the diamond. Let's talk about the dragon. We all know what dragons look like. We all know that from history, from the stories we've read, we know what dragons look like. We understood how those of us who saw The Hobbit know what Smaug looked like. The power of Smaug. We knew that Smaug was this animal, that's this dragon, huge dragon that sat in a castle filled with gold, filled with diamonds, filled with, that he wasn't sharing it with anyone. So we all know, no matter where you're from in the world, that dragons have a mystical, magical presence. For some societies, dragons were beautiful. They were in Egypt. Dragons were good and bad. Dragons could be the symbol for fertility and destruction, because look where Egypt was. In fact, let's back up. Dragons were a symbol of water, which is interesting because we talked about opal being a water stone. So dragons were the symbol of water in Egypt and in Africa. Egypt is in Africa. Dragons also was the symbol for sovereignty, royalty, majestic. In Asian, we know in Asian cultures, dragons are the symbol of prosperity and good luck. So here you are with this brooch with a dragon that's a symbol of prosperity and good luck, money, power. Isn't that what you want to exude when you're standing there in front of all those people asking for, what did we say, $40,000 for your business? Then this dragon, Smaug, has scales of diamonds, diamond scales. And because this is Cartier, we already know that these diamonds are some of the best. We're talking about D color, F color, VVS1 diamonds. The whole entire scale of the dragon is filled with diamonds. And we know what diamonds were. Diamonds are the hardest substance known to man, natural substance known to man. Diamond has always been in the treasuries of all the kings and queens, no matter where they are in the world. If diamonds were there, if they had access to diamonds, then that's what they wore. And because kings and queens oftentimes were the intermediaries between us mortals and the gods and divinity, kings and queens would use diamonds as that connection point between the higher level thinking, because in the belief of diamonds is that diamonds opened up all the chakras of the body. All 7 chakras, that's what diamonds did. Diamonds were the frequency and the energy of diamonds is what created the opening, the connections between the king, the queen, and the divinity and God. So you have a dragon that represents power and prosperity. You have a dragon covered in diamond scales, whole body covered in diamond scales. And we know that diamonds are oftentimes considered the highest, the quintessential gemstone. Oh, I'm not finished. Then we have emeralds. And we did several shows about emeralds. I told you that emeralds, before diamonds, has only been in the last 200 years that diamonds were the king gemstones, because from the beginning of time until 200 years ago, emeralds were the power. I told you in whatever episode that we talked about Cleopatra, the reason why she is known, that the power, the source of her strength and power came from emeralds. So here we have a dragon, a powerful symbol of strength, of power, of majesty, with not only holding an emerald, which is also a water stone. Also a water stone. I told you that emeralds in the Central American civilizations, they believed that not only was emeralds a gemstone, emeralds was the embodiment of God. Because of the way emeralds look, the shine, the glow that comes from high quality emeralds, they believed that the gods lived in, that's where the gods lived. So here you have a dragon with diamond scales holding an emerald. And to the point where the diamonds, even the diamond's eyes are emeralds. And emeralds is also a gemstone which represents prosperity, represents courage. In fact, ladies, emeralds were the gemstone representation of the goddess Venus. Yeah. Imagine you walking into that meeting with that on your chest, on your shoulder. And I forgot platinum. I didn't forget platinum. Platinum didn't come about. People didn't really understand what to do with platinum until about the late 19th century. So platinum doesn't have the spiritual representation that gold and silver does. But what I will tell you about platinum is just as powerful as gold. Platinum also comes from outer space. 4 billion years ago, meteors with gold and silver and platinum hit the earth. And because platinum is one of the densest metals, that it sunk into the earth. So platinum is extremely rare. Something like, as far as the whole earth, maybe 5 parts per billion is platinum. Platinum takes a higher temperature. That's why people don't know how to work with platinum, because platinum takes a specifically high temperature in order to work with it, in order to make it into a ring. It's as malleable as gold, but it takes the melting point, the melting temperature of platinum is much higher. So again, we're dealing with something that's an element. And what is an element? 8th grade, high school science. Oh, 8th grade, I'm sorry. High school science, what is an element? Really, you learned in 8th grade. That an element is something that you can break into its smallest part and it still is what it is. So platinum, which comes from a whole system, rhodium, all those are part of the platinum family. And then last but not least, you have Australian opal. And we already talked about, whereas again, I want to get it directly from the horse's mouth. Now we talked about white precious opal being an emotional amplifier. An emotional amplifier, meaning whatever you're feeling, if you wear white precious opal, it is an emotional amplifier. And then with Australian opal, with black opal, not only is it an emotional amplifier, but it is literally a stone of magic. Its magical powers come from the fact that whatever you think, it is a stone of intention. It's a stone of intention, meaning whatever you think about, if you wear this brooch, if you wear this pendant on your shoulder, imagine the power that you are giving to your audience because of wearing that gemstone. In fact, in this book, it literally says that the energies from black, from opal, underscore the importance of the old saying, be careful what you wish for, because you may get it. Because opal is a gemstone that leads to the manifestation of dreams. So here we go. Here's the connection. It's not the mistake that I made, that when I was reading about gemstones and reading the metaphysical properties of gemstones, I didn't believe it because as a scientist, if you don't actually see it, it doesn't exist. But that's not how it works. How it works is you have to believe. You have to believe it works. That's what I believe the words in As a Man Thinketh. I believe the story. So if you are wearing this gemstone, in fact, you know what I'm going to do right now? I want you to take a second to think about that. And we're going to finish this up on the other side. All right, we're back. So where were we? You're in that meeting. You're in that conference room. This is a presentation that will change your life. You have practiced, you have gone to school, you have sat there and worked and put it all together. Now, here is your moment. Here is your, in Toastmasters terms, here is your 7 minutes and 30 seconds. To deliver a speech, to deliver a presentation that will change the minds of the people in front of very soon. So all that has their mind changed. So you're standing there with this brooch, a dragon brooch with diamond scales, with an emerald in its claws and an emerald in his eyes, and wrapped around the opal, wrapped around the dragon, holding the dragon as an egg, holding the dragon is an Australian black opal, or an Australian opal that allows you, not only is it a stone of intention, it is a stone of manifestation, that the opal will imbue you with that kind of, with wearing that opal will give you that type of power, that kind of clarity, and then putting it all together, the dragon, the emerald, the diamonds, the platinum, putting all those things together, that is what you walk into that room with to do that presentation. And the real power in this brooch is that you believe it. That's the secret. That is the secret. And I'm excited about it because, as I said, this is a journey. So as I'm reading this, I'm like, oh my God. The thing isn't that the fact that when you look at an opal, that opal is just going to manifest. That diamond is just going to become like, oh, here's a diamond. Many of us have diamonds. I have diamonds in my earring, diamond in my pendant, diamond on my ring. But the real magic is what you believe. If you believe in it, if you believe in the story, if you put that pendant on this morning and said, I'm going to wear this pendant, and let's give it even more power. This is the Cartier pendant. So this is the pendant that you might have gotten from your grandmother. This is the pendant that your grandfather gave your grandmother when you were born or something. Imagine all the power of owning it. And this is what you're standing in a room with. And the reason why metaphysics works, the reason why this book and thousands, millions of books like it are out there is because it's what you thought about. It's what you believe. As a man, as a woman, thinketh. So each and every week when I say discover the value of your story, when I say that nothing has value without story, that's the secret. And when at the end of the day, at the end of that meeting, they hold their hand out and shake your hand and say, you got the contract. You got the money. We like what you do. We believe in your presentation. You go back home. You take that pendant off your lapel. And that only does what? Furthers your belief that everything that you read about, everything that you thought about, everything that you believed was true. And in many cases, you will accredit it to that pendant, to the power of wearing that pendant. Because, and this is not to take anything away from God, because that's real easy. God made everything. So the platinum, the diamonds, the gold, everything's God. So that's an automatic. But what you're believing in, the thing is, it's not that the gemstone or the metal has power in it. You imbued it with power. So if that's the case, if that is how it works, that what you believe in, what you imbue in that power manifests for you, then that means that you can do what with anything. Anything. If you read a story that this cup, a black and red teacup, for thousands of years, kings and queens have drunk out of black and red teacups, and you believe that drinking out of a teacup like that will bring you prosperity. Somewhere you read that if you want to have a better relationship, or you increase the romance of your marriage, you drink out of a black and red teacup, then you increase the chances that will come true. Not because of the teacup. Like Yoda said in Star Wars, remember that scene where Yoda had to take the ship out of the water and he asked Luke to do it at first, and Luke said, I can't do it. It's too big. And he said, judge me by my size, do you? I mean, what? Yoda was 3 feet tall, but what did he say to Luke? He said his ally was the Force. What he was talking about was you, was your mind, was your thoughts, was your prayers, was your hope. That's what he said. It's all around us. Luminous beings are we, not this crude matter. You have to, and then when he pulled the ship out of the water, that was hundreds of times bigger than him, Luke said, I don't believe. And that's when Yoda looked him right in the eye and said, that is why you fail. Yeah. Think about it. It's not the material. It's what you imbue in the material. It's not where you come from. It's what you believe that you can become. When I sat in that dumpster, in those garbage cans, eating out of, I knew that I could become more, because as a man thinketh said, that my universe would be altered once I changed my thoughts. Once I changed my thoughts, then once I believed in the story, then what would happen? My value increases. Isn't that what jewelry is? Isn't that the reason why we want jewelry? When we look at this beautiful pendant, isn't that what we believe when we see it? Ladies, when you put on that dress, when you do your hair, you do those shoes, when you wear that ring, I think back to my earliest days in working in jewelry. That woman, the first jewelry piece that I ever had created and sold to a customer, when I gave her that diamond tennis bracelet, for the whole rest of the night, all she did was look at her wrist like she had a brand new arm. Why? It wasn't because it was gold or the diamonds. It's because of what she believed what would happen to her as a result of wearing that. She acted like she literally had a brand new life, like she was reborn. She walked differently the rest of the night. She did everything differently looking at her arm because she felt the beauty. When I talk about the romantic metaphysics, what I'm talking about, and I'll do a whole show, is about romance. If you go into a relationship and you believe that that person is beautiful to you, if that person, if the guys, I'm talking to you, when you see that woman and you believe and understand and you figure out what kind of gemstone she is, she doesn't change. She doesn't change. If you thought that she was a fire opal, and a fire opal literally is an opal whose power is passion and creativity. When you looked across the room, that woman, and of course I'm including the guys too, the ladies too, that guy, but when you look across the room and you see that woman, and that woman creates passion inside of you, you can see the lights inside of her as she walks across the room, just like you see the lights. There's no special light. That's what the gemstone is giving off. That's what it's reflecting, how it's interacting with the light. So the romantic metaphysics is that the same way we believe that fire opal is imbued with that power, we have to understand that it is us. It is who we are. It is we as people, we as human beings that imbue it with that power. And all I'm saying, and all I will continue to say, which is the theme of this show, is to discover the value of your own story. What do you believe? Once upon a time, you believed that you were whatever you wanted to be. And what happens to so many of us as time goes on, we begin to forget. That's why when I teach middle schoolers primarily, because middle schoolers is when we start losing the ability of once upon a time. That's what Professor Barry's Science Emporium all about. That's the thing that I do when I'm not talking about gemstones and I teach science and history. I get kids to understand what once upon a time is, that whatever they want to do, this is how they do it. And science and history are the tools that make it happen. So what happens? Now, some of you are sitting there thinking, oh, well, it's still metaphysics, Barry. Yeah, okay, whatever. So let me tell you what happens, how powerful beliefs are. See these beautiful flowers? These are called tulips. I'm sorry, I have to be insulting. These are tulips. Those of you like, hi, Barry, I know. These are tulips. This is a specific type of tulip called a Semper Augustus. How much would you pay for this tulip? Those of you who are gardeners, how much would you pay for this tulip? You went to Home Depot or Menards or Lowe's, you went to the garden section and you wanted to plant tulips in your garden. How much would you pay? $5, $10, something like this? Well, in 1630, in the early 17th century, a tulip like this literally went for the price of a modest home. Yeah. In the 17th century, tulips came to Europe. Tulips are originally from Turkey. And they came through, of course, trade and every supply. They came to Europe, and people began to believe that tulips were special. They imbued that tulip with power. In fact, if you were rich in the 17th century in Europe, especially in Holland, if you were rich, you had to have a tulip garden. You weren't even rich if you didn't have a tulip garden. It's kind of like being rich today and not having a really nice car. Or if you're rich and your man brings you, he's not going to bring you home a diamond that comes from Walmart because you're J-Lo. That's not going to happen. So if you were rich in the 17th century, you had a tulip garden. This, ladies and gentlemen, this tulip, the Centus Augustus, was the first economic bubble. From 1636 to 1637, the fever pitch, the need to acquire this tulip was so unbelievable that people gave up their life savings for just a bulb, not the actual tulip growing, for just a bulb. And then what happened? The bubonic plague happened. The bubonic plague happened, and people stopped going to auctions to literally buy and purchase, to leverage their whole life savings, their home, land. This tulip went for something like 12 acres of land, prime real estate, for just one bulb. And in a matter of months, that whole market disappeared. Literally, this tulip, this beautiful tulip that doesn't even exist anymore, went for hundreds of thousands of dollars. And when people decided that it no longer had value, it was gone. By 1637, half of Holland was destitute, not just poor, destitute. And the only thing they had in their hand was the bulbs that they believed that would bring them prosperity. That's the power of understanding value. That's the power that understanding how stories connect to value. And the purpose each and every week is to show you how that value can manifest in a variety of different ways. And the key thing about it is that you believe. That's it. If you have come out of this pandemic, as we come to the end, believing that your life was going to be different today than it was 18, 19 months ago, that's what manifests. If you believe, if you told a story, not just, when I say believe, I'm not just saying, oh, I want to lose weight. And actually, I do. I want to lose like 20 pounds. The only way 20 pounds is going to happen is because I have to constantly tell myself a story that's so profound for me, that I eventually start doing the things that I need to do in order to get there. It doesn't matter how many people on television tell me that I need to lose weight. It doesn't matter if my friends tell me that. I have to believe it. I have to believe in the story. And I have to tell that story to myself again and again and again and again and again in order to begin to see the value of losing weight. The amazing thing about studying gemology is understanding that all the gemstones have that power. People throughout history have imbued that gemstone with power. You ever wonder why? Let's go back to diamonds real quick. You ever wonder why all the royal, especially European crowns, always had a diamond in the crown, usually in the center of it? Why? Because the diamond, if you're going to connect with God, the deity, you would want that connection right there, right in the center of your forehead. So everything that God said to you, and you being the intermediate between the heavenly world and the earthly world, would come directly to that chakra, that part of your brain. And if that's what you believed, then the chances of it manifesting comes true. I'm going to let you think about that for a second. Because we live in a world where people have right. You can't say anything without somebody having a contra. So the most important thing for you to do is believe in your own stories. And when you understand what powers that gemstones have, the powers that you can read in a book that gemstones have, and then you can believe in that story, and that story can manifest into something else. So now let's take a gemstone like tourmaline. Tourmaline is also a gemstone of October. And the amazing thing about tourmaline is not even just a gemstone. Tourmaline is a complicated group. Tourmaline is the most powerful gemstone in the metaphysical world. Why? Because tourmaline comes in about 30 different varieties, every color of the rainbow can manifest from tourmaline. These are all tourmalines. The most beautiful, the most expensive, the most powerful ones are the pink and green tourmalines. Because think about it, where pink and green would set on the electromagnetic spectrum. So what you're doing, and of course we understand, and I've told you in an earlier show, green is a primary color in the brain because your eyes are genetically tuned to see green. So when you have a gemstone that can manifest all these different colors, then you have increased the power of it. And imagine being able to take that power and manifest that within inside yourself. So I want to thank all of you for helping me along this journey. I truly hope that you're able to begin to see the value of your own stories. And my name is Barry B. Mixon. I am a gemological storyteller. And please take the time to look at your life. Look at the things that you want to do. Think about what was your once upon a time and see how you can bring it into the present and begin to discover the value of your own stories. I'll see you next week. Au revoir.